What's going on? So, if any of you follow me very long, you know I'm big into helping the body recover with exercises, hacks. I love hacking regular exercise, making exercise more effective, working out less, and getting more results. And in the last 10 years, I've really been excited about finding other lifestyle hacks that can help us recover from injury, just sort of give us more energy and help us feel younger. So, anyway, with that being said, I was real excited to come tonight to my buddy Mike's house. We were chatting the other day about water fasting. That's a hack to help the body recover and repair tissue and all kinds of things. And I told him I've been wanting to check out a hyperbaric air chamber because I heard of Broadway Joe Namath, who overcome some CST trauma in his head from his football career with 90 sessions of hyperbaric air chamber. And so I've been wanting to do that for a couple years. I almost did it, but I just never got around to it. And he's like, hey, you know what? I got one better than that. I invested in something called, it's basically the new technology of hyperbaric air chamber. And essentially it's called Live-O2. And essentially what it is exercising. So bring up the demand for oxygen in the body while you breathe in oxygen-enriched air for a time frame. Tonight we just did 2 minutes. And then you keep exercising with oxygen-depleted air, where it's really low amount of oxygen, and it forces the body to do extreme things. And then you finish that up by breathing oxygen-enriched air for this 3 minutes. I had 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. So I just want to ask a couple questions. First of all, thanks for letting us come down and check it out, man. And my buddy Casey also did it. But I just want to ask him a couple questions. He's just learning the technology. There's a whole bunch of different protocols that you can do different things to help brain trauma, to help trauma in other areas. What we did tonight was just a little trial run just to experiment with it. But would you say I explained that halfway decently, the advantage of this over the older school hyperbaric air chamber, which most people would do sedentary, where they just sit in the chamber?
Yeah. Well, it's still somewhat new to me too. I bought this 3 or 4 months ago. I've been using it on a weekly basis, and it's definitely helped me to breathe better, to sleep better. I've invested in a ton of health things, and I was saying I think out of everything that I've invested in, this would be my favorite. So I'm not a pro at explaining the benefits, but I think you did a pretty good job, and you can do it for less time, for more time, and it just helps to push oxygen into parts of the body where it hasn't been before. There's a term called a brownout, where somehow or another your body's operating at 1/19th of the cells or something of what they can, but then this helps to reoxygenate areas that have been in a brownout, however that works. So I'm not a pro at explaining it myself, but I've watched some great videos that have convinced me and that this is really a fantastic thing to do for the body.
Awesome. Here's what I'd like to say. If you've been following me at all lately, you know that I am into, I learned from Wim Hof some breathing technique where you're saturating your blood with oxygen by doing 30 belly breaths in a row, and then you take a big breath in and you hold your breath. So to me, this is really similar technology, but now I'm exercising, bringing up the demand for oxygen. So it's similar along those lines.
Yeah.
And with that, I did do some experiment and realized that with that technique that Wim Hof taught me is that you can hold your breath each repetition, do that 3 or 4 rounds. I got to where I could hold my breath for over 5 minutes, and Casey, my buddy, sort of did some challenges with me, experienced the same thing. So to me, it's similar technology that I've used in the past with that breathing technique, but now during exercise. And now with the machine, the oxygen-enriched air that you're breathing while you're exercising, how much oxygen is in that air? 80% oxygen?
Something like 80%?
80% in that enriched oxygen state while you're exercising. How much oxygen is in regular air?
Something like 17%.
In this room air, there's 17%. In that, it's 80%. So it's a shit ton more oxygen in that air while we're exercising. Then we go through another phase, like I said earlier, where you're still exercising, but now you're breathing in the oxygen-depleted air.
Yeah, that's why they call it adaptive contrast, because it has the when it's on the fill side here, it's giving air from one part of the bag that has less oxygen than the normal air, and then when you put it over to the Live-O2 side, it lets out the oxygen return.
So I got a question for you. If there's 80% oxygen in the engorged air from the machine, and there's 17% in air, what is the oxygen depleted? Less than room
Oh yeah, definitely less than room air.
So like
yeah,
7, 8, 6%.
maybe
It's
10,
lower.
7. I don't know.
So
Definitely lower,
we're just
yeah.
sort of learning
You
as we
feel-
go.
You felt it though, right?
Oh, yeah.
It felt like you were. I mean, when you were breathing it, you're not getting the oxygen that you would normally get.
Casey, any like a question or two that maybe I didn't ask that would help someone understand what we're doing?
I mean,
here more?
I thought the question of what the depleted air was, that's one of the things that I wanted to know. That was the question that was on the top of my head. But just from experiencing it, like this story I told you guys, where like when I was completely out of breath, it's happened a couple times in my life where it was kind of like a life, like ending type thing. You're in a scuffle or whatever.
Fight.
Fight.
Oh, it was definitely a fight.
It was definitely
with
a
him.
fight. And, it took me like 30 minutes of like, just
To
trying to
come-
get my
to
breath
come
to
back.
calm down and just be normal and be able to speak, and it was less than 2 minutes. I had to take it off because I felt, I'm still a little bit, my legs were a little bit, I felt it still in my
Yeah.
physical body, but my breath was back within 2 minutes. So that was a huge difference in recovery.
Casey worked himself really hard, and then with the oxygen depleted air, and he just kind of had to stop and go back to the oxygen-rich air. But he's saying within 2 minutes, he just felt like he was normal again.
Yeah, he went really intense on the row.
Yeah.
I wasn't stupid like that.
Yeah, and I got scared.
But anyway, tonight we used the rower. I'll show you a picture, but we used the rower for the physical exercise.
Yep.
So, Mike I've known him for a long time, but we've been hanging out more recently. And he just 6, 7 months ago got turned on to turn his life around with basically health hacks like this.
Right.
Water fasting, that's why we got connected last week. So he lives pretty close to me, so I think I'm going to befriend him so I can use this more often.
Yep.
And
Right over.
we'll experiment with it. And as we learn stuff, if you're curious, just ask questions below. As we learn, we'll post some more things, but we're going to see if this can, what we can use this to help us with. I
The
think that's
connection with the breathing techniques, the Wim Hof, and this, we kind of all made those connections pretty early. We'd love to hear if, what we're talking about makes sense. Maybe Wim Hof or some of his people can kind of explain it and, kind of understand what's going on here technically and scientifically, but
Sure.
it sounds very similar.
Yeah, and the LiveO2 website has some great information stuff that convinced me of the benefits. So go on over there to check it out.
Go convince him enough of the benefits to buy this thing, invest in it, and it's not cheap, I'm sure. The system, and he's got a lot of repetition under his belt. And he said he's seen advantages. So me and Casey will chime in on this comment thread below how we feel later today. Later tonight and
Well, even
tomorrow.
if we're around.
It will be around.
Oh, hopefully.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Appreciate it. We'll check in with you next time. Just chat it out below if you're curious about what's going on here, or if you have more knowledge than we do. Cool. Have you ever used a hyperbaric air chamber? Have you ever been curious about it? Have you ever exercised in air oxygen deprivation or utilized anything like this? Adios. You do have the power to change to make the rest of your life the best of your life. Oh, if you're in Chicagoland area and you want to see really sexy ladies beating the shit out of each other in a professional football game, we're going to go check out Shaq over there at the Sears Center, starting middle linebacker, and so it should be pretty fun. Adios.